Question I was pondering was, what does devotion to the Immaculate Heart of the Blessed Virgin Mary offer us? Today we celebrate the solemnity of her Immaculate Conception, the dogma that she was conceived without original sin, which wasn't made official until the mid-1800s. And yet, in all the apparitions, basically, the last 200 years, Mary's always revealed herself under the title of the Immaculate Conception, one way or another. When she appeared to St. Catherine Lapwai with the miraculous medal, "O Mary, conceived without original sin, pray for us who have recourse to thee." That was around 1817. 1854 is when the dogma was finally proclaimed that Mary was Immaculate Conceived. And then soon after that, just 4 years later, she appeared to St. Bernadette in Lourdes, 1858, and she revealed herself as, "I am the Immaculate Conception." And then in 1917, when she appeared to the children in Fatima, after all the prophecies of all the breakdowns that would take place in our world and in the church, her final statement was, "But in the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph." So always coming back to this immaculate nature of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And what is that so important for us today? Well, one thing that one of the popes said was that after the Vatican Council is that the greatest sin of our times is a loss of sense of sin. We no longer see good from evil. So much of the world has just become gray. I mean, how many people don't go to Mass anymore, don't even go to church, and they don't even feel the pangs of conscience? How many people live in divorce or in adultery? No remorse for it. How many people are stuck with sins of the flesh and pornography or living together outside of marriage? Not a second thought of it. Well, how can this be? It's because we've lost the sense of sin. We no longer see the distinction between good and evil. There's a saying that sin darkens the intellect. So the more I allow sin in my life, the harder it is for me to see good from bad, truth from error. Mary, who was the Immaculate Conception, her entire being was purity. So that means she always knew the difference between God's voice and the devil's voice. A voice that had been so subtly distorted ever since Eve herself fell to that temptation in the garden, when she listened to the voice of Satan, tempting her to disobey God, to choose for herself what is right and what is wrong, to become independent of God. And yet we see in the gospel today, this is Mary's manifestation of her immaculate nature. She's totally receptive to God's will for her. She doesn't try to go her own way. She doesn't decide for herself what she's going to do in her life. She's totally surrendered to God. So I believe in this time, one of the most important things for us, devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary will purify our own hearts, our minds, so that we can walk into a very confused world and know what is sin, and know what is of God and what is of the world, so that we can walk the proper path. And everything that Mary received by grace, we are called to receive through the sacraments. So just as she was immaculate conceived, we receive that new immaculate soul through baptism. And she who was the mother of God, because she bore God in her very womb, we too get that same grace every time we come to Mass. We can receive the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ in the Holy Eucharist into our very self, sharing in the same graces that she did. If we truly understand that and live that out as we walk into this world, then God will also be magnified in our souls too.